I'm Danielle Towers, I go by Doni, and my exhibition is Invisible City. The reason I got interested in Greenbelt has a lot to do with where I grew up. It was a suburb outside Chicago, but it felt really different than what I was experiencing in Greenbelt. And so when I came here for the first time, I was just really fascinated at first with how everything looked. Just aesthetically, I was interested. And then I realized there was this kind of interesting diversity of people, and the way they were interacting with each other was so neighborly and friendly, and honestly, I was just surprised by that, which sounds sad to say, but it's, you know, I grew up in a suburb, people were nice, but it's just different. And I felt the need to understand why it was different. I just was really interested in this other version of, I guess, suburbia that I didn't understand existed, and this history that I had no knowledge of, and I just really dove in headfirst. I got started with photography when I was a junior in high school. I took a digital course, and the project that my teacher assigned us was photojournalism. Photograph something in your life that's happening or in someone else's life or around you. It was the first time I was introduced to that concept of what photojournalism was, and at the same time my grandmother had Alzheimer's, so I could sort of see her fading away, and I had this sort of, I didn't even think about it, but at the time I was like, well, of course, I need to take pictures of my grandmother. And it just became this really powerful tool for both probably coping with a reality I was uncomfortable with, and also I just realized that it was just a really personal thing, and I wasn't just making pictures at that point. I was for the first time learning how to tell stories, and that was the really pivotal moment for me. And after that, it kind of just became an obsession. I studied in school, and from that, yeah, it's just been history ever since then. Aesthetically, I do like black and white a lot. I came from initially doing black and white and started in the darkroom, so I guess I kind of have always had this vision of photographs in black and white. That being said, I do love color photographs, and sometimes I struggle with how to put those two worlds together. But for this project, I had no question about it, because I knew at some point I was going to want to bring the archive in conversation with the photographs from the beginning. And I wanted them to feel like they could sort of seamlessly seep into this archival space. I've had people ask me if these pictures were film, ask me if they were from different time periods, which is really surprising to me, because I feel like there are certain images where maybe you couldn't tell. So yeah, I wanted it to be a smooth conversation so that you sort of are blurring the line between the past and present. I did feel like I was taking from this line of historical Depression era photographers who were all shooting in black and white, and I did feel really informed by this canon of history where there is so much photography from it that, again, I wanted it to have some sort of conversation by being aesthetically within the same sort of parameters to add to that existing archive. I'm really glad that so many people, it's such a great space. I wouldn't want it in a gallery. This is the visibility of this, and I know how much this space gets used, so I was the fact that they wanted it here was so, really, it made me feel really good. With John Henry, the specific draw was, I was interested in, first of all, people were referring to him as the mayor of Greenbelt. They were like, have you met? People mentioned him to me. They said, have you met John Henry? He's someone you have. So it was sort of word of mouth that I was told, if you're in Greenbelt meeting people, this is someone you can't miss. And he did not disappoint. And so once I met him, yeah, I was like, I mean, I have to take your picture. He's a beautiful looking person, very photographable. He's got an interesting career background. When I met him for the first time, he was telling me about how he was so close with his patients that he was basically acting as he had to give himself boundaries so that he would essentially just not lose himself to his work, because he wanted to be so helpful to people that he was working with as a social worker. So I'm really grateful that I got to meet him and spend time with him. Rick Gordon, I just happened to have the opportunity to photograph because I was aware of the local election going on, and that was part of me trying to understand the community better, and understanding the community meant understanding how important this election was. And I never paid attention to a local election in my life up to then. But I was like reading the paper, I was like, wait, these are who's running, these are the incumbents, like you could see their posters. So that's how that happened. But I really, really, really wanted to photograph the Waters family just because I had already met John Henry, and I just was like, there was a through line between connecting the same family for me, because it kind of was working with this lineage that I was already trying to find aesthetically within the town, with the city. And so I was like, the idea of photographing the members of this family that's been here, like that was just great. Like that was exactly what I was looking for. The Waters family, they're busy. They're some of the most awesome people. They're always like rock climbing and adventuring and doing these things. I was like, I need to photograph you. Like I made myself be kind of persistent because I knew that it would make the project complete if I could do it. It's intimidating for me just because you want people to feel like you're not there. That's the hardest part. And I'm still working on that. You know, I still get nervous to ask people to take their pictures. I mean, I always want to take people's pictures, and I don't always ask. I like reflective surfaces. I'm always looking for things that are double images. Everybody thinks that picture is a double exposure. It's actually not, it's just a reflection. For me, that picture was really satisfying because I was really fixated at the beginning before I was brave enough to like talk to people, taking a lot of pictures of buildings and architecture and plans and other things. And I was obsessed with getting the right building shot. And this one was the one where I was like, okay, I have the pathway in it, I have 3 different elements of the architectural history coming together. There is a very palpable sense of community and just comfort that individuals had, neighbors had with one another. There's sort of just a sense of openness that I thought the openness of people is reflected right in the architecture. So I was kind of interested in that because there's a visual dynamic between the way that the city is actually built, and does that make people more comfortable with one another? And I guess my answer to that is, I mean, it might not always be true, but it does feel like it is true here. So it might not be possible to make the same infrastructure and have people act in the same way, but it's just the way it is here. And so I would say visually I was interested in, is do the aesthetics have anything to do with the way people act and the comfortable nature that they seem to have with one another. Being in Greenbelt, I sort of had a vision of how I was seeing things, but you have to be able to put that away when you're making and just kind of let your instinct take over as well. So I learned a lot, and I definitely did come in with a way I thought things were gonna look, and then a way that things did look that I was pleased with the surprise. I would say the more you photograph, just you're always training your eye. I'm also a firm believer that you can train your senses to be more refined, and there's not really such thing as a natural eye. Like, I think you can maybe be more excited by certain senses than others. Maybe you're more visual, maybe you're more like physical, you draw, but I really do, like, it's practice. My website's just danielletowers.com, and everything's there. Other projects, some of which are in color. And yeah, I have an Instagram handle, which is just Doni, D-O-N-I, Towers Photo. And yeah, anyone can email me, shoot me a text, whatever.